Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Okay, so today's topic, we are going to talk about authenticity and and how that's the path for true happiness. Apologize. Hi, everyone. How are you guys doing on TikTok there? Awesome. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. All right. So, we're talking about authenticity and how it's the true path to happiness. And if this is your first time joining me, my name is Tina. I'm a happiness coach and I help business owners and people deal with the challenging emotions such as depression, anxiety, frustrations, all of those negative emotions, and help you move into a happier place because I firmly believe that when we are in a happier place, we are much more productive. And so on this channel, what I do is I share from my own personal experience, strength, and hope, and hopes to provide you with some information and some tools that you can start to apply to your life today to help shift you into a happier state. So, when we think of authenticity, um, this is important. The more open and honest you can be, at the very least, with yourself, the better it is. Because if you are denying how you're feeling and you're pushing away those challenging emotions, I don't want to think about that, I'm too busy, I don't have time, I just need to push forward, all of that kind of stuff, that is going to consume a great deal of energy for you, and you will end up feeling exhausted all the time. And it's through going through this process of authenticity and doing the inner work, um, helps you move through that in a faster way. Um, so, for those of you that don't know me and you're like, who is this chick? um, like I said, my name is Tina. I'm a happiness coach, and for the personal experiences that I've had, I've been through a lot of trauma in my life, and mostly with growing up. And I've done a lot of healing work, and these personal experiences that I share are tools and processes that I've learned over the years. And I also marry that with change management techniques that I've learned in the corporate environment. I've had over 30 years of experience in transport and logistics. And both of these work. In fact, it is important, and in fact, more important in a business environment, to be able to properly learn how to manage the emotions of other people, whether that's your team, your customers, or your business partners, all of that stuff, and how to deal with that, and also how to deal with your personal relationships on a better level. Because when you are able to do that, you're going to free up a whole lot more energy to do things, and it takes a lot of energy, like I said, to a- avoid our feelings and deny those feelings. And so, first thing that I recommend is when you are feeling a sense of frustration, or you find yourself telling yourself, I don't have time for that, I'm too busy, I can't deal with that. You're getting frustrated, you're getting annoyed, you're getting critical of other people, you're getting short tempered, and you just start to develop a bit more of a pessimistic attitude with things. And if you guys haven't watched my video from yesterday, I got all caught up on my videos for uploading them to YouTube. So go check out my YouTube channel, Coach Tina B 125. I've got a lot of trainings on there of different things, and this training will also go up there. So, and part of the reason why I was able to get caught up is because I had been dealing with a lot of emotions and a lot of challenges, things that I was avoiding. And one of the things, if you're like me, maybe you're a nice person, right? You're able to get along with people, you're happier, you're maybe a little bit on the people pleasing side. And what ends up happening is we tend to avoid doing this part of the inner work where it's those darker, more negative emotions. Um, and those can be feelings of anger and rage and resentment. And by the way, rage, my definition of rage is just uncontrollable hurt. I remember when I was first going through therapy, and I heard somebody explain rage in that way. Because people would joke with me because I was really nice, really calm and everything, but then there'd be like this little thing that would happen and I would rage about it and I'd just go off, right? And and I realized it was displaced, uncontrollable hurt. So when we don't actually learn to deal with the stuff that we've been through and how it's affected us, how it's shaped us, how it shaped how we make our decisions, then we end up operating from these processes, these filters that we sometimes created when we were children, and we didn't even have the logical capability to deal with that kind of stuff. And this is no different than reassessing an SOP. Just because you've created an SOP and this is the way that you've always operated, I don't know about you, but I've done so many SOPs in the course of my career that you do have to end up going back through and reevaluating, is this process still effective? Does this still actually work for me, or am I just doing this because this is the way it's always been done? And now there's actually a better way. And there's been so many times I've gone back through and I've evaluated an SOP, which is standard operating procedure for those of you that are not more business that are watching the channel. This is your normal way of operating, right? This is the standard of how you do things. And it's really important for us to kind of take that step back and reevaluate, is the ways that I'm operating actually working and still effective? And maybe it's effective for you, but maybe it's causing residual damage to those around you, right? We have to take into consideration not just our own personal needs, but the well-being of those that we interact with as well. And so taking a more 360 kind of approach to it allows you to get better and more effective relationships, and also ones that are more open and collaborative and communicative. So when you're feeling these frustrations, the number one thing that I will do is I will express those emotions in a safe way. And for me, that's usually in a form of journaling, so that I can get those thoughts out of my head. No different than when you're trying to remember the things that you need to get done for a week, or next day or something like that. You write those things down, you get it out of your head so that you don't forget, and that you're able to go back and reference that as a tool. And so writing those negative thoughts down, no holds barred, is one of the most important things that you can do. And even if it's ugly, even if it's not nice, even if it's, I would never say that out loud. Make sure, if you're not comfortable with anybody seeing that, you can always burn it, get rid of it, do something with it. But it's the act of writing those things down and getting them out of your system. It's the equivalent of taking the poison that's inside of you and externalizing it, getting it out of your system, so it's not in there filtering around. And when you do that, that frees up a lot of space, it frees up a lot of energy, and now you're not holding on to that energy, because it takes a lot to squish those feelings down. And oftentimes we can't do it just on our own, and we end up developing maladaptive coping mechanisms in order to deal with the emotions that are too difficult for us to process. And that is the whole form of trauma, right? Of you've been through something that brought up a lot of emotions, and those emotions were not safe for you to feel at the time. They were too overwhelming. And so in order, you might have shut down, It's kind of like, if somebody gets in a bad car accident, they might go into shock, right? Because the the emotions that they're feeling of being in that accident are just way too overwhelming. The brain's way of coping with that is to shut those emotions down, right? And the problem is those get shut down, they get stored in the body. And so there can be things that'll happen to you that'll come up, and it may trigger something to come up. It could be somebody says something to you in a certain tone. It could be the smell of a cologne or a cleaning product or an air freshener or something like that that might bring back a memory that has an emotional attachment to it. Okay, and those can be called flashbacks. Now, not everything is in that big of a trauma kind of thing. Sometimes it can be little memories that'll come up, and it's not always necessarily tied to a specific trauma event, but there's other events that happen afterwards that maybe correlate with it. And so learning to untangle these threads that keep us tied to that old way of operating and keep those emotions stuck in our system. And when those emotions try to come up, we end up trying to push them down. And like I said, we may end up developing maladaptive coping mechanisms in order to not feel those emotions. That could be drinking, that could be drugs, that could be food, gambling, any sort of addiction is oftentimes how people end up learning to cope with those negative emotions so that they don't have to feel them, that they stay in the more positive, happy emotions. And while that is good, those are just band-aid solutions, because until you get that toxin out of your system, those negative emotions out of your system, they still fester within us. And so this is why it's really important to get that stuff out as much as you can, no holds barred. And that is going to trigger a lot of feelings within you, and you might be really, really angry. You might be extremely sad. And just know that the deeper that you can allow yourself to feel those feelings to the fullest, the faster you are going to move through them. It's the trying to deny those feelings, trying to pretend that they don't actually affect us, is what slows us down, will keep us stuck. And when you do that too many times, not only will you start to squish down the negative feelings, but you will start to not be able to feel the positive feelings at your fullest capacity. So having that journaling is number one. The next thing is, and in a business, you would also want some sort of way to deal with negative emotions. It's like, do you have a process for how to deal with customer complaints? When a customer is not happy, when a customer is angry, do you have a process for that? Of course, most businesses do, and this is how we handle it, and this is how we solve these problems. Here's the parameters. These are the steps that we take. This is how we move through these negative feelings in order to get that customer to a happier state, because happier customers will buy more from us. Same thing with employees. If you have a process on how to deal with the negative emotions, whether that is employees being upset with us as leaders, or us as leaders being upset with the employees for things not being done, and having a way to deal with those emotions in a healthy and objective way that is designed to create a win-win for both sides. It's not a I win, you lose kind of thing. It is a win-win, that we are working together, we're on the same team, that we're on the same side, we want the same results. And so focusing on those kind of things actually helps quite a bit. So having a process, so having one for your own personal needs is important, as well as for your business and how you deal with your customers, how do you deal with your employees, how do you deal with your suppliers, your vendors, any of those kind of things, right? So having those processes on how to deal with the emotions around that stuff, not just following the facts and the structure and the system, because I don't know about you, if you've ever been told, it's like, well, I can't help you. I don't really, it comes across as somebody doesn't care about your feelings. If you get told the line, it's like, well, that's just our company policy, right? It's like, I don't care what your company policy is. This is not fair. This is the circumstances. And everybody in this particular situation, especially if they're feeling emotional or they're frustrated about a situation, they expect a customized, tailored approach in order to come to a resolution, right? So you want to make sure that you are dealing with the emotions of the individual, that they come across feeling like they've been heard, that they've been understood. And in order for us to be able to effectively do this, we also need to be able to do this for ourselves. And so when you do this and you follow your process, so for me, it's writing down that journaling, feeling those feelings that I'm actually feeling, even if they're negative, even if they're nasty, even if they're uncomfortable. I don't really want to be feeling those kind of things. I need to go through and feel them to the fullest so I can release them. And it's through going through that process when you will gain some insight. You will have a flash of insight, and it's learning to pay attention to the thoughts that come up, maybe a different memory, a vision, or something like that. Maybe you'll get an image. No, I am not from Texas. No, it's been a long time since I've been down in Texas. I hear there's good people there, though. So having that process and then following through on that. When you do this, it's going to release a lot of that energy, and you're going to feel um, emptied, and now you can fill that up with positive stuff, and you can now see things clearer, right? Are you a grand wizard, ma'am? Ski BD? I don't know what that means. Sly guy. So it frees you up. It empties all of those negative emotions out of your system, and then you can put in those positive ones. You can now see that from a clearer perspective. You've taken a step back from it, and you can now you because you're no longer denying those feelings, you have more energy. And guess what? I went through this yesterday where I was feeling some things and things that I have been trying to avoid. And so even though you're aware of this stuff, it doesn't make it easier sometimes when you're feeling these more challenging emotions. But because I have a process, because I know how to move through these emotions quickly, I wrote those down, no hold barred, nastiness, ugliness, whatever, getting that stuff out there, and then being able to feel those emotions and then process through them. And then after that, I gained some clarity and insight. And when you get rid of that fear, that is when, and you recognize ourselves are in a state of fear. And so what I mean by this, for those of you that haven't watched my channel before, I've talked about this a few different times. There's a process of how I deal with things. There is love and there's fear. Love is the only thing that's real. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Everything is either an expression of or a cry for love. So when you are in one of those angry states, you are crying out for love. And I know you're like, come on, Tina, this doesn't work for business. And I'm like, yes, it does. And I know we don't usually use the terms of love or fear in business, but think of somebody who loves their job and they love what they do and they show up. Those are the kinds of people. They show up early, they're excited, they're enthusiastic, they give more than is required. Why? Because they just love to do it. They love being part of the team, they love being part of the mission, they love being part of the organization, and they work of their own accord. Why? Because they are actually happy with what they are doing. If you had the choice of two people that have the exact same skills, they are qualified in every way, one person is really happy and the other person is kind of like, yeah, yeah, I can do it, I guess, right? I don't know about you, but if I had to choose between the two, I'm going to pick the person that's happier to do the job. They're excited to do the job. That is the one that I'm going to pick. Why? Because they have a whole lot more energy to be able to put into the role, and oftentimes they will not only do the role that they're hired for, they will look for ways to go above and beyond as a natural extension of them being happier. When you rule with fear, then people do just what they have to do so that they don't get in trouble. Or maybe they're afraid to let you know everything out of, oh, this is going to upset you. And I remember there was somebody that I used to work with, and they would say, oh, I can't tell them that piece of information. They're going to be really upset with that. And I'd be like, what? No, you have to tell somebody those things. Now, obviously, there's a way that you deliver bad news to so that it is not, when you know it's going to affect somebody, you still have to deliver the news, but do it in a way that is supportive, that is helpful and productive, right? Um, so when you are able to get through those negative emotions, get yourself to a happier place, it not only for you, but for other people on your team and in anything that your company interacts with. You're going to find that you're going to free up so much more energy. People are going to be willing to go above and beyond exactly what it is that they're providing. People are going to be more understanding, much more compassionate, and that's going to flow through in every area of your business. And you're going to find an uptake in how people behave, how they show up, how they treat your customers, how they treat your vendors and suppliers, all of that kind of stuff. They're going to do a much better job at being successful, and happy people are successful people. So following through it, and then the third thing that I do is to help shift into a happy place. So you're thinking, oh, okay, well, what is journaling going to do, Tina? Oh, okay, so I wrote those things down. Okay, now I felt those emotions. I still feel like shit. Thanks a lot, right? No, keep moving. Understand what it is that you need to do um, to fill yourself up. Give yourself that kindness, compassion, caring, that cry for love because you were emptied out. Now you need to fill yourself up with things that are going to benefit you, things that you know are going to build you up and build up um, your your love energy, basically. I didn't quite know how to say that without it being weird, but yeah, it's basically building up that love and that care and that compassion. Because when you trace back where the source of the fear started from, then you can see that maybe 20% is the trigger that happened from what's going on today. 80% is from stuff that is from past experiences, whether that's from adult past experiences or childhood past experiences. But they are from past experiences, and what happens is we get into a reactive state. So when we're no longer reactive because we've identified how we're feeling, and we've actually gone through and felt that, then we can let that stuff go. We've emptied it out. And now it's our job to fill that back up with things that are supportive for us, that give us comfort, that give us happiness, right? And so what I found when I did that is all of a sudden today I had so much more energy than I have been having. Even though I was pushing myself and I was going forward and I was doing the things, today I had more energy, and it wasn't such a fight, it wasn't such a battle to do the things that I had been procrastinating on, and I got done and out of the way, and that freed up even more energy because now I don't have this list of things that are stacking up and weighing me down. So now clearing that stuff out of the way, being caught up with something. So that would be the third action item that I would recommend for you is once you've done steps 1 and 2, you've done some journaling, you've emptied out those emotions, you've filled it back up with positive, comforting, supportive things for yourself. You're going to go in and now you're going to take that newfound energy that you have that is no longer being spent denying the feelings, denying the uncomfortable feelings that you weren't wanting to feel. And you can now channel that into what's something that I know that I have been needing to do that I haven't been doing? What is something that I've been procrastinating on? What is something that has just been rolling around in my head of a list of things to do that I can just knock off the list and clear that out of the way? And what I find is that is a win-win for me because not only did I clear something that had been bugging me, that I've been waiting to get around to it, and I finally got something off of my list, got that cleared out, and now I have even more energy. And as a result of taking those actions, I'm even happier now because I took that step forward. And this is how you can go from being in those negative states, those um, angry, frustrated, anxious, depressed kind of states, and moving through that at a much quicker pace so that you can get to a place of happiness and a place of more energy. And then that positive energy and truly authentic happiness, not fake positivity, truly authentic happiness will help propel you forward and help you be much more productive. And that kind of energy that you bring to your environment is actually contagious. So is the negative stuff. But when you move that positive energy, that and because you've been compassionate, you've been understanding with yourself, it's going to feel natural to do that for somebody else. It's going to feel natural and authentic to be able to recognize when somebody else around you is experiencing those same difficult emotions. You will be able to start to recognize when somebody else is also denying their emotions and they aren't moving through it, and how to help them through those kind of things because you've helped yourself get through those. So, guys, with that, I think we're going to wrap up today. I hope you found this helpful. I will be uploading the video on my YouTube channel, so go to Coach Tina B 125. Make sure you click on the subscribe button so that you get notified once I've uploaded a new video. And guys, I hope that was helpful, and we will talk to you again tomorrow. Take care. Bye.